Should I get a divorce? If that question has popped into your head, your marriage is already in trouble. Yet, just because you're thinking about divorce, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get one. On the other hand, it's definitely one of the signs that your marriage is over, or close to it. Well, in a word, you're miserable. But how do you know if your misery is normal or whether you've crossed the line and will soon be facing divorce? Here are some surefire signs that your marriage is over, or in serious trouble. Number 1. Lack of respect. A strong marriage stands on the bedrock of mutual respect. When that respect begins to erode, and when your feelings, choices, and individualities are dismissed or ridiculed, it's more than just a tiny crack in your relationship's facade, it's a potentially devastating earthquake. Number 2. You can't remember the last time you were happy. No one is happy all the time. But we all like to be happy at least some of the time. If you can't even remember the last time you were happy in your marriage, that's a problem. It's even worse if your unhappiness has grown into anxiety or depression. If you can't remember the last time you laughed, or had fun, with your spouse, that's a sure sign that your marriage is in trouble. Number 3. Escalating arguments. Disagreements are common in every marriage, they're part of the package. But when fights escalate faster than a wildfire, or the same issues come up repeatedly without resolution, it's a sign of trouble. This means both of you are more focused on winning the argument than resolving the issue. A dynamic that often erodes intimacy and trust. Number 4. Physical affection is minimal or non-existent. Affection is the unspoken language of love, be it a hug, a peck on the cheek, or just a warm smile. When this communication dwindles or disappears, the emotional distance can increase. If holding hands feels like a distant memory and your goodnight kisses have vanished, it's time to pay attention. Physical connection is the pulse of any relationship. Without it, the heart can lose its rhythm. Number 5. You can't stop thinking about life without your spouse. Happily married people do not spend their time contemplating divorce. Sure, everyone wonders sometimes if the grass wouldn't be greener with someone else. But, for happily married people, the random thought of divorce is exactly that, random. It doesn't last. Thinking about divorce often, or constructing elaborate daydreams about what your life as a single person would be like, is a definite sign that your marriage is in trouble. If you've gone so far as to have already made an exit strategy, that is a serious sign of divorce. Number 6. Trust is the foundation of a healthy relationship, and when it's broken, rebuilding can be an uphill battle. If your partner has repeatedly betrayed your trust through infidelity, deceit, or other forms of betrayal, it can be incredibly difficult to rebuild that foundation. Trust issues can lead to a cycle of hurt and resentment, making it challenging to maintain a loving and fulfilling relationship. Number 7. You're not intimate anymore. Intimacy is a huge part of marriage. It's what makes marriage different than friendship. When you and your spouse are no longer physically intimate with each other, your marriage suffers. Your marriage needs intimacy to feel a connection with each other. Number 8. A feeling of loneliness despite being together. Ever felt an overwhelming sense of solitude, even when seated right beside your spouse? It's strange, isn't it? Being together shouldn't feel like being on lonely islands but more like being in a cozy nest. Loneliness in marriage doesn't always mean physical absence. It can also indicate an inner disconnect, a widening chasm between the two of you. Number 9. Unresolved and recurring patterns of conflict. Conflict is a natural part of any relationship. But when patterns of conflict become chronic and remain unresolved, it can indicate deeper underlying issues. If you and your spouse find yourselves constantly locked in repetitive arguments without resolution or growth, it may be a sign that your relationship has reached an impasse. Continued conflict can drain emotional energy, leaving little room for the growth and happiness that a healthy partnership requires. Number 10. You've got a deal-breaker issue that you can't resolve. Most issues that come up in a marriage can be fixed. Deal-breaker issues can't be fixed. There is no real compromise. They are all or nothing propositions. For example, do you desperately want children while your spouse is adamantly against it? Are you trying to blend your families, but your kids hate each other and nothing seems to help? Those are deal-breaker issues. In summary, all of these can be signs your marriage is over, but they don't have to be. A lot of people have stayed in some pretty bad marriages. So, not everyone leaves and gets divorced. However, there's no question these are signs of an unhealthy relationship and should be addressed, especially if you want to stay married or have a happier one. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe Mind Matters Explained.